2 reasons. Jungkook's global domination. You won't believe what these US celebs said. Reason 1. Major US artists are treating Jungkook as an equal collaborator, not just a guest feature. In the global entertainment ecosystem, the status of a musical artist is largely defined by how peers perceive their value, not only in terms of popularity, but in terms of technical contribution, influence on sound trends, and collaborative parody. For decades, non-Western artists seeking a place in the American music scene often had to conform to frameworks that cast them as outsiders, novelty acts, or beneficiaries of Western validation. However, in the case of Jungkook, this structure has shifted. US artists, particularly those at the top of the commercial and critical ladder, are now treating him as a true collaborator, not simply a guest star meant to bridge audience demographics. This shift is perhaps best exemplified in the collaboration between Jungkook and Charlie Puth on the track Left and Right, released in June 2022. Unlike the typical feat format where one artist clearly leads the production and the other adds value through a short verse or hook, Left and Right was marketed as a duet from the outset. Streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube credited both artists equally. Even the official cover art presented Jungkook and Puth side by side, further reinforcing parity. The reception to Left and Right was not just commercially successful, it was structurally significant. The song debuted at number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100, remained on the chart for several weeks, and topped several real-time iTunes charts globally. The track was played on major US radio networks, something rare for Korean-language artists, even rarer for tracks with partial Korean backing, but in this case, the song was fully in English. This decision was strategic, yet the execution did not compromise Jungkook's vocal style. His parts retained the technical smoothness, phrasing clarity, and tonality for which he's known in BTS. Importantly, Charlie Puth did not dominate the song's structure. In fact, critics and fans alike noted that Jungkook's verses often carried more melodic responsibility and emotional contour. Puth himself offered public insights into the collaboration. In multiple interviews, including appearances on US radio and variety shows, Puth mentioned that Jungkook was not only professional but also technically adept in music production discussions. He stated, "He understands the structure of a song deeply." He wasn't just there to record lines. He gave feedback, changed inflections, and even suggested slight timing modifications on harmonies. These comments reveal that Jungkook was not a passive participant, but a collaborator who influenced the artistic direction of the track, further extending his role beyond the recording booth. Jungkook also appeared in the official music video for Left and Right, which visually mirrored the song's shared artistic leadership. The video featured both singers in synchronized screen time, symbolic storytelling arcs, and mirrored vocal cues, common indicators of equal collaboration in visual production. From a brand equity perspective, this visibility translates into recognition not just as a featured act, but as a co-creator. Beyond Charlie Puth, Jungkook has caught the attention of other major US musicians. In 2023, Jack Harlow, one of the fastest rising rappers in the US, followed Jungkook on Instagram and engaged with fan content linking the two artists. While this does not confirm an immediate collaboration, it does reflect a level of awareness and mutual interest that signals artistic credibility. The Western music industry often moves in cycles where cosigns on social media precede actual music collaborations. That Jack Harlow, a Grammy-nominated artist, would even entertain public association with Jungkook speaks to the latter's repositioning within the music industry. This leads to an even more crucial indicator: industry recognition of Jungkook's independent value. When Western artists pursue collaborations, decisions are not only artistically motivated but also calculated in terms of brand alignment, audience reach, and creative synergy. Jungkook, long known for his vocal precision, stylistic versatility, and dance-driven performances, now offers US collaborators more than fan-base expansion. He provides credible musical input, cultural resonance, and technical consistency that align with top-tier pop production standards and industry trade conversations. Producers and songwriters have also begun citing Jungkook as a desirable partner. Multiple US-based producers who've worked with Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, and The Weeknd have expressed interest in crafting material tailored for Jungkook. In an interview with Variety, one senior producer noted, "When we're designing demo tracks, we now think about the kind of tonal range someone like Jungkook would bring in. He's got that mid-tempo edge that fits both R&B and pop, which is rare." This is significant because it indicates that Jungkook is now in the reference frame of US production teams, no longer an afterthought, but a leading candidate for original projects. These developments are also reinforced by how Korean and US promotional campaigns have treated Jungkook's solo activities. Unlike earlier crossovers where the Korean label handled all communications while US labels remained passive, Jungkook's solo material is being pushed directly by US-based distributors such as Interscope Records and Universal Music Group, with targeted strategies for American radio stations, Spotify editorial playlists, and performance venues. The effort to treat him like a local pop act rather than an imported novelty is not just cosmetic, it is structural and institutional. Another angle worth exploring is the distribution of songwriting and production credits in these collaborations. In Left and Right, both Puth and Jungkook were registered with royalty bodies as equal contributors in terms of vocal performance and publishing rights. Jungkook also received vocal arrangement credits, which are often reserved for artists who take active control of how their voice interacts with a composition. This type of credit allocation is rarely seen in previous K-pop crossover attempts, where Korean artists often leave publishing and production entirely to their Western counterparts. One must also consider the broader shift in public conversation across online forums and US-based media commentary. On platforms like Reddit's r/popheads and Twitter's pop culture spheres, discussions of Jungkook's solo work now occur independently of BTS. This independence is key. He is no longer framed exclusively as a member of a larger act, but as an entity with creative control and standalone impact. This conversational autonomy is typically reserved for artists who can command their own lane in an industry as competitive as the American pop space. Lastly, the consumer behavior in Western markets reinforces the hypothesis. Jungkook's solo releases, particularly 7, Standing Next to You, and 3D, have charted in markets where K-pop's fandom infrastructure is comparatively less active, such as Canada, Germany, and parts of South America. This suggests that US-based collaborations are not simply K-pop meets pop experiments, but genuine cultural integrations. His music isn't succeeding because it's K-pop. It's succeeding despite the genre labeling, functioning under the expectations of modern US pop singles. Conclusion, Jungkook's elevation from a guest performer to an equal musical partner in US collaborations illustrates more than just popularity. It represents a redefinition of status, one where a Korean artist is no longer navigating Western systems for approval, but actively co-shaping the output of those systems. His name now appears alongside some of the most commercially successful and critically respected artists in the American music landscape, not in the margins, but in shared headlines and shared credits. This is not only rare, it's historic. Reason 2. US media is reframing Jungkook as a solo powerhouse, not just a BTS member. Jungkook's rise in the American music industry can no longer be attributed solely to the momentum of BTS. While his role in the group contributed to his global visibility, his solo presence in US media indicates a shift in narrative, from being a team member of a global sensation to becoming an independently recognized pop figure. This reframing is not superficial. It's being driven by editorial positioning, programming strategies, chart tracking, and content curation within Western media systems that are typically selective in their representation of non-American acts. Begin. Take the editorial shift in how US entertainment journalism handles Jungkook's coverage. Leading publications such as Rolling Stone, Billboard, Variety, Forbes, and GQ have produced solo profiles, reviews, and analytical features centered exclusively on Jungkook, without defaulting to the BTS member angle. The coverage isn't limited to his popularity or fanbase, but includes discussions on his musical direction, production partnerships, and industry strategy. For example, Rolling Stone's deep dive into Jungkook's Golden album broke down the track list through a Western pop lens, comparing it to current chart trends and citing his vocal capabilities in relation to contemporaries like The Weeknd or Justin Timberlake. Meanwhile, Billboard has gone further. Not only did it track Jungkook's solo singles such as 7, 3D, and Standing Next to You, but the platform also highlighted his trajectory in standalone metrics, streaming growth, US radio spins, and regional chart breakouts. Notably, the publication often categorizes Jungkook among mainstream pop artists in their chart recaps and year-end summaries, placing him in the same datasets as Doja Cat, SZA, and Harry Styles. This treatment isn't extended to every international act, suggesting that Jungkook has reached a different tier of media acknowledgement. Television exposure supports this narrative further. Jungkook has appeared on Good Morning America, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and The One Show, UK, as a solo act. These programs are selective with their musical guests, often preferring local artists or US-based stars. The fact that Jungkook was granted exclusive performances with full segments indicates editorial confidence in his solo drawing power. His GMA performance in Central Park wasn't just an appearance, it was a full stage production, with live vocals and integrated choreography. More importantly, the interviews focused on his solo career choices, not just BTS-related commentary. Western fashion media has also repositioned Jungkook. US editions of Vogue, GQ, and Elle have highlighted him not as a K-pop idol, but as a modern global fashion icon. His Calvin Klein campaign dominated the spring-summer 2023 cycle and received direct coverage from US style editors, not as an Asian brand ambassador, but as a primary face for a legacy American label. This framing was deliberate. In GQ, one editor commented, "Jungkook has the fashion credibility of a Gen Z superstar. His styling doesn't feel like costume, it feels current." The article made no reference to fan-driven popularity, but instead evaluated Jungkook's impact on fashion aesthetics and market trends. Digital platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music further reflect this reframing. Jungkook's solo releases have been featured in curated playlists such as Pop Rising, Today's Top Hits, and New Music Friday, global editorial spaces typically reserved for American or Western European artists. These playlists influence public listening behavior and algorithmic amplification. Placement there signals industry backing and a bet on long-term relevance. Notably, his English-language singles were not presented under K-pop banners but under broader genres like pop, dance, or R&B. This genre neutrality shows that even digital gatekeepers now consider Jungkook as fitting in mainstream global music norms. Moreover, even industry panels and forecasting reports from outlets like IFPI, MIDA Research, and Music Business Worldwide cite Jungkook as part of the next wave of global soloists who transcend origin-based categories. He is often grouped with names such as Bad Bunny, Olivia Rodrigo, and Rema. International artists who defy Anglo-American limitations but operate with local influence and global reach. This elevation of Jungkook in US media narratives represents a larger structural trend. He is no longer dependent on the umbrella of BTS or the K-pop wave in Western framing. His artistry, marketability, and stagecraft are now considered self-contained assets. In an industry known for its gatekeeping and local bias, such treatment of a Korean soloist without defaulting to idol tropes signifies recognition of enduring merit.